There are two big numbers on this bill, and one of them is lying to you. The first number is the electricity, the actual power. Over the last year, the number has gone up and down and back up again, and I'm going to show you it doing that in the company's own filing in a minute. The second number is smaller. It's called delivery. It's the cost of getting the electricity to your house. Since 2010, that number has done exactly one thing. It doubled. It moves in steps, and the steps only go one way. Not in a mild winter, not in a good year, not when the first number fell off a cliff. It went up and it stayed up, and then it went up again. Because it isn't a price, it's a ratchet. And by the end of this, you're going to know exactly why it can only turn one way, and why the thing that's about to turn it hardest hasn't been built yet. This is Baltimore, row houses, 1.3 million homes on this grid, and on the side of each one, a small grey box that has been quietly counting for years. Last month, this house used 1,000 kilowatt hours, nothing exotic, lights, a fridge, air conditioning in a Maryland July. The bill came to about $213, and people here are angry, not vaguely, specifically. Maryland's own consumer advocate, the office that exists to represent you against the power company, has a page on its website. The title is a question. Why is my summer BGE bill so high? That's the state asking, on behalf of you. About a company the state licensed, and BGE has an answer. It's a good answer. It's in every statement they give. The increases, they say, pay for critical work on the system, keeping it safe, keeping it up to date for their 1.3 million electric customers. Hold on to that sentence. We're going to come back to it. And when we do, it is going to sound completely different. Let's just add it up, because a bill is a claim. It's a company saying, this is what we did for you, and this is what it cost. And a claim can be checked line by line, until either the number adds up, or it doesn't. Fair warning. It adds up. That's not the surprising part. The surprising part is what you'll have been paying for. Line 1, the electricity. On the bill, it's called supply, or generation. This is the physical stuff. A turbine spun, gas burned, a reactor ran hot in southern Maryland, and the result traveled to that grey box on your wall. Across the last service year, BGE's residential supply rate averaged 14.42 cents for every kilowatt hour. 1,000 hours, and you get about $144 out of $213. That's most of your bill. So here's your first surprise, and it's the opposite of the one you were expecting. The electricity really is the biggest thing on your electric bill. And now watch what it did. These are BGE's own published numbers month by month. Last June, 12.59 cents. September, 15.84. October, 16.59. Then December, it fell, 13.34. Then March, back up to 16.59. Up, down, a 30% swing inside a single year. That is not a company deciding what you'll pay. That's a price behaving like a price. It tracks gas, it tracks weather, it tracks the season, and crucially, it comes back down. It has come back down over and over for 15 years. And in Maryland, you can leave it. Switch supplier tomorrow, and that whole line changes. Line 1, the power, $144. Running total, $144 of $213. $69 left. And that $69 is where this entire video lives. Because it's the smaller number, and it's the only one nobody is allowed to compete for. $69. On the bill, it's broken into pieces with names that sound deliberately boring. A distribution charge, 4.9 cents a kilowatt hour. A customer charge, $9.65, which you pay for existing before you switch on a single light. And a little stack of riders underneath, electric efficiency, demand response, peak time rebates, fractions of a cent each. They add up to about $10 a month, and almost nobody has ever read them. What is it? Poles, wires, transformers, substations. The crews who come out at 2 in the morning, in the rain, when a tree takes a line down. The whole physical machine standing between a power plant and a grey box on your wall. And it is the smaller number, about a third of the bill. If this video were about size, it would end here. It isn't about size, it's about direction. You just watched the electricity line move. Up in September, down in December, up again in March. 30% both ways in 1 year. Now here's the delivery line over 15 years. It doubled, not doubled, and came back, doubled. There is no year on that chart where being careful helped. No month where the machine got cheaper. No mild season where they gave any of it back. The steps go up, they don't come down. That's the whole thing, right there, in 2 lines on 1 bill. One of them is a market, the other is a ratchet. And here's the part that should bother you. You can shop the 144, you cannot shop the 69. Every comparison site, every mailer, every guy at a folding table in the supermarket, all that competition, all that choice everyone tells you to use, is fighting over the line that already behaves. The line that comes down on its own. Nobody is competing for the line that only goes up. Nobody is allowed to, because there is exactly 1 set of wires going to your house, and 1 company owns them. Which is not a scandal, it's the design. We decided a century ago that running 4 competing sets of power lines down every street was insane. So we made a deal. One company gets the wires, one company gets the territory, a legal monopoly, and in exchange, that company gives up the right to charge whatever it likes. A public commission, regulators in your state, decides what it's allowed to charge you. So this should be the safest line on your bill, the one with a referee. It's the one that doubled. Line 2, the delivery, $69. Running total, 213 of 213. The bill adds up, 144 for the power, 69 for the machine. Done. Except we haven't explained anything. We've relabeled it. We know the money went to the wires. We still don't know why the wires cost $69 instead of $45, or why that number has gone up every few years for 15 years in a country where the poles outside your window have not changed. Somebody decided that. Somebody sat in a room and approved it, and then approved it again, and again. So the question was never how your bill splits up. It's why one line on it can only move in one direction. And to answer that, you have to stop reading the bill, and start reading what the company files with the regulators. Every few years, your utility goes to the state commission and asks for more money. It's called a rate case. It is not a secret. The filings are public, thousands of pages, and almost nobody reads them, which is roughly the same thing as being secret. And inside, there's a formula. It's not hidden. It's the whole basis of the industry. It's been there for a century, and once you know it, you cannot unsee it on your bill. It works like this. The company adds up everything it owns. Every pole, every wire, every substation, every power plant. All the capital it has sunk into the machine. That total has a name. It's called the rate base. Then, the regulator picks a percentage, and the company is allowed to earn that percentage on the rate base as profit every year. That percentage is called the return on equity. Across America, in rate cases decided last year, it averaged 9.66%. Read that again, slowly, because it does not say what you think it says. The utility does not earn a profit by selling you electricity. It earns a profit on the things it has built. Those are completely different businesses. If the company sells you more power, it doesn't necessarily make more money. The regulator would just adjust the rate. But if the company builds something, a new substation, a new transmission line, a new plant, that goes into the rate base. And the rate base is the thing it earns 9-point-something% on. Forever, paid by you. So ask the question that the formula asks. If your profit is a percentage of what you spend, what do you want to do? You want to spend, not waste. The regulator checks the spending, and this allows things. And this is a genuinely hard job done by real people. But structurally, at the deepest level, the machine is wired so that building is how you grow. A utility that spends nothing earns nothing. A utility that builds is a utility that earns. Every dollar of that is legal. Every dollar of it is approved. And every dollar of it is on line 2 of your bill. And if you think guaranteed profit is my word for it, look at what Florida did. In November of 2025, Florida's regulators unanimously approved a settlement for Florida Power and Light. The biggest rate increase in the company's history, about $7 billion. Its authorized return on equity, 10.95%. And not a target, a corridor. If FPL earns below 9.95%, it can come back and ask you for more. If it earns above 11.95%, someone can challenge it. A floor and a ceiling on a private company's profit, written down by the state. So now go back and read BGE's answer again. The increases pay for critical work on the system. Keeping it safe, keeping it up to date. Every word of that is true. That's what makes it so good. They are spending on the system. The work is real, the crews are real, the substations are real. But under the formula, spending on the system is not the cost of doing business. It is the business. Every dollar of that critical work goes into the rate base. And the rate base is the thing they earn their percentage on. Forever. Paid by you. They told you exactly what they were doing. They just told you in a language where it sounds like an apology. So let's correct line 2. The $69 was never $69 of wire. Inside it is the cost of the machine. And a guaranteed regulator-approved profit on the machine, sized as a percentage of how much machine there is. You are not paying for electricity. You're paying rent on infrastructure, plus a fee to the landlord. And the fee goes up when the landlord builds. Running total, still 213 of 213. Not a cent has moved, but the ratchet just stopped being a mystery. It only turns one way because the formula only rewards one direction. A utility that spends nothing earns nothing, which means the machine has an appetite. It has always had an appetite. All it ever needed was a reason, something that walks in and says, the machine isn't big enough. There's one more thing buried in your bill, and it's the strangest of all, because you are not paying for electricity you used. You're paying for electricity you didn't use, and might never use. The grid has one brutal rule. Supply has to match demand exactly, every second, forever. There's no warehouse, there's no shelf in the back. If the grid can't cover the worst hour of the worst day of the year, the coldest morning, the hottest afternoon, everyone home, everything on, the lights go out. Not for the person who used too much, for everyone. So the system doesn't buy enough power for a normal day. It buys enough for the nightmare. And to make sure that nightmare capacity exists, the grid pays plants just to be available. Just to sit there, ready, not to generate anything, to exist. Baltimore sits inside the largest grid in America, a region called PJM, covering 13 states and the District of Columbia, more than 67 million people, from Chicago to New Jersey to Virginia. And in PJM, that promise is bought at auction. Power plants bid to be on standby, and whatever the auction clears at, you pay. For years, this was a rounding error. Boring, cheap, nobody covered it. Then the auction started breaking. The auction for 2026-2027 cleared at $329.17 per megawatt day, up from about $270 the year before. But the number isn't the story. Where it landed is the story. It cleared at the cap. There's a ceiling on that auction, a legal maximum, negotiated by Pennsylvania's governor after earlier auctions hit records. And the price didn't drift up toward it. It went straight to the lid and stopped. Then the next auction did it again. And in July of 2026, the auction for 2028-2029 hit the cap for the third time in a row. Now the third one actually cleared a little lower than the one before it, $325, about 2.5% down. Which sounds like relief, it isn't, because the price didn't fall, the ceiling moved. 3 auctions in a row, the price has gone to the maximum it is legally permitted to reach and stop there, because it is not allowed to go further. That is not a market finding a price. That's a market trying to tell you something and being physically prevented from finishing the sentence. The real number, whatever it is somewhere above the lid, and we don't get to know it. Next door in Pennsylvania, that has meant somewhere in the neighborhood of $220 to $320 a year, added onto a household bill, not for power, for the promise of power, and Baltimore got it worse. In that same auction, most of PJM cleared at $269.92. The BGE zone, this grid, these row houses, cleared at $466.35, 70% higher than the rest of the region. Not because Baltimore used more, because of where Baltimore sits. So why did the standby suddenly get so expensive? Because the nightmare got bigger. PJM's own forecast for peak demand jumped by more than 5,400 megawatts in a single year. Their explanation names 3 causes: electrification, economic growth, and data centers. And here's the part that should stop you. The biggest driver isn't the data centers that exist. It's the data centers that don't. The grid buys standby capacity for the demand it expects. And so it is buying, right now, for projects that are announced, forecast, coming to the area, which means a data center that has not been built, that may never be built, is already on your bill. Line 4, the just in case. It isn't on its own line, which is exactly why nobody sees it. And it is the moment the story stops being about you at all. Because something enormous walked onto the grid. It doesn't live in your town, it never sleeps, it never goes on holiday, and it is hungry in a way nothing on this system has ever been hungry. And the question, the one that gets shouted about and almost never answered honestly, is whether it's on your bill. Here are 2 facts. Both are true. Both are from serious people. And they appear to be in direct contradiction. Fact 1. The organization that independently monitors that PJM market, the watchdog, not the critics, the watchdog, went through the last auction. Of the $16.4 billion in capacity charges, about $6.3 billion came from data center demand, roughly 40%. Across the last 4 auctions, they put it at $29.4 billion, already committed. Not a forecast of some future harm, a bill that has been written. Fact 2. A study from the Electric Power Research Institute found that data centers pushed electricity prices down. That in the average state, residential rates would have been about 6% higher without the data centers built between 2019 and 2024. Not less bad, lower. You are better off, the study says, because they came. So somebody's lying. No, and that's the interesting part. Watch what happens to Fact 2 out in the world though. A tech trade group publishes it under a headline announcing that data centers are lowering your electric bill. Not in some conditions, not through 2024. Your bill. Present tense, case closed. And here's the detail the headline leaves out. The study's own authors went looking for the obvious catch. That developers don't pick states at random. They build where power is already cheap and likely to stay cheap. So of course rates look good in data center states. The data centers went there precisely because rates were good. When the authors corrected for that, their own estimate came down. Doubling a state's data center capacity cut residential rates by about 3.5%, not 6. The authors adjusted their number. The people quoting it didn't. That is a real study being used as a shield. So let's do what nobody does with dueling studies. Let's make them agree. Go back to the formula. A utility earns a percentage on what it has built. And the grid has one other property. Most of its cost is fixed. The poles are already there. The substation is already there. That cost gets spread across every kilowatt hour anyone buys. So imagine a grid with slack, spare capacity, quiet wires, a machine bigger than the town needs. Now a data center moves in and starts buying enormous quantities of power through infrastructure that already exists. What happens to your bill? It goes down. Genuinely. The giant fixed cost is now spread over far more kilowatt hours, and your share of the poles gets smaller. The data center is the best customer that grid has ever had. That's fact 2. It's real. It happened. Now imagine the opposite. A grid with no slack. The machine is already at its limit, and demand arrives that is bigger than anything in the system's history. That doesn't sleep, doesn't dim, doesn't take a holiday. Now nothing is spread over anything. Now you have to build. New lines, new substations, new plants, new standby capacity bought at an auction already jammed against its ceiling. And every dollar of that construction goes into the rate base. And the rate base is the thing you pay 9-point-something% on. Every year, for decades. That's fact 1. Both studies are true. They're describing the same machine at 2 different moments. Before it ran out of room and after. And when a trade group tells you data centers lower your bill, they're not fabricating. They're quoting the before and holding it up while you live in the after. Now, I want to be straight with you, because this is where everyone cheats. Over the last 5 years, residential electricity prices in America rose about 42%, in Washington D.C. 94%, and in Maryland, this bill, these row houses, 74%. Data center country, both of them, case closed, except Maine rose 73%, and Maine is not data center country, which tells you the thing the shouting always misses. Data centers are not the only reason your bill is climbing, not even close. They're just the newest reason, and the fastest. The machine was always going to grow. It has wanted to grow for a century. They didn't create the appetite. They gave it somewhere to go. Line 5, the new tenant. Also not on your bill by name. Also paid by you. Running total, still 213 of 213. The bill always added up. It just never said what it was for. Let's read the receipt back. $144 of electricity. The biggest line on the bill, and the one that behaves. Shoppable. Honest. It goes down when it should. $69 of delivery. The smaller line on the bill, unshoppable, inescapable. And it has doubled in 15 years, in steps that only go one way. $213. It adds up. It always added up. Every line is legal, approved, and filed in public. And it's the wrong receipt, because the number that matters isn't on it. Underneath that $69 sit the things that actually decide it, and not one of them has a row of its own. A guaranteed profit, sized as a percentage of how much has been built. A payment to power plants for existing, bought at an auction that has hit its ceiling 3 times running. And a customer who hasn't arrived yet at the exact moment the system ran out of room. So here's what your electric bill actually is. It is not a price for a product. It's rent on a machine. And the landlord's income is a percentage of the machine size. That's the whole thing. That's why the ratchet only turns one way. Not because anyone is stealing from you, because we built a formula where growing is the only way to earn. And then we were surprised when it grew. For a century it couldn't. Demand was flat. Towns don't suddenly double. The machine wanted to eat, and there was nothing to eat. And then something walked in that was hungry enough. The data centers didn't break this system. That's what everyone gets wrong, in both directions. The people shouting that AI is stealing your power, and the trade group insisting it's a gift. Neither of them read the formula. The data centers didn't break it. They fed it. They handed a machine that gets paid to build the best reason to build it has ever had. And that is why being careful will not save you. Why every efficient bulb in your house will not save you. Why switching supplier will not save you. You'd be switching the half that was never the problem. There is one number that decides more about your bill than everything you will ever do inside your home, combined. It's the return on equity. It's public. It's set by your state's commission, in a room you're allowed to sit in a case you're allowed to comment on, and almost nobody ever does. You don't know what yours is. The people who own the machine know it exactly. You've had it in your hand every month of your adult life. On the wall of every place you've ever lived. That small gray box has been counting. You thought it was counting electricity. It was counting the machine. And 60 miles from those row houses in a field in Northern Virginia, there is a building with no walls, no roof, and no servers in it. It's already on the bill.